Is this thing on? Are we on? What's happening? What's going on? I'm discombobulated. No, I'm not. Hey, a bunch of you are already here. You got here before me. But that was the plan. How is everybody? Happy Passover. Do we have a minion? Who's here? Elena, and she has so much to say. And NetReamer, say it quick. You need to leave it 7 Pacific. Oops, there it's doing that thing again where I turn the volume down on the phone. And it doesn't stay down. Elena, NetReamer, Denise, Susan, Mark, Bill, Stan. Hey, Stan. Elena, yes, I'm like Elijah. Mark, it's your second Zoom Seder of the evening. I saw that very cool picture you posted of a Seder via Zoom. NetReamer was supposed to Zoom to a Seder earlier, but the invite never came. That's the thing about Elijah is you invite him every year. He never shows up. When are we going to get... I think he's made it pretty clear he's not coming. Just like his buddy Jesus. All right. We've eliminated part of the audience within 8 minutes. Within seconds of me starting. Hey, NetReamer, I changed a thing or two, and I'm dropping frames like a motherfucker. I haven't finished saying hello to people. Oh, Mark, Darla, and whoever else might be out there. I saw somebody. Everybody's. If you happen to be watching over on Periscope, Twitter, or Facebook, I'd prefer you come join us all over on YouTube. I'm trying to build up my YouTube channel, first of all. And second of all the people that all the chatting that you're gonna hear going, it's not happening on Facebook, it's happening on YouTube. So come on over. Now, NetReamer, okay, I gotta make sure that one other person is here, because I actually prepared a couple things for this. It's almost a show. We know that it's not, but it almost is, in that, first of all, I posted, Darla, did you see that? I posted a graphic and that my friend Darla made for me that says it's a fireside chat. And I even, now, of course, I should have done it early in the day. I just did it a couple hours ago, so it probably can't have much effect. The only people who saw it were people that were already going to come. But I did that, and I prepared a few new things. So the first thing that I should just go ahead and show you is, Todd. I prepared something relevant to Todd. David, I can't believe you have to leave. Is that 10-9-8-7? Did you say you're leaving at 7? Damn. David, I don't want you to miss this, but I also, it involves somebody who needs to come and see this. So, but first, let's take a look at these stats. If you remember, these are the stats from like Sunday night. Just to take them in, these were the most active chatters on Sunday night. The numbers are pretty good there. Darla and NetReamer and Albert and the Sciency Optimist and Susan and Mark and Denise and Kimberly were all there. But here, let's take a look at the following night. So we skipped yesterday. So Monday night, Denise with 64. Like our top one last time was 41. Denise with 64 comments. Darla with 53. Albert 42, Susan, Mark, Netreamer, Kimberly, and the Science the Optimist. Very similar names are our most frequent chatters, but the order shifts a little bit. Just a little bit. Yeah, David, are you here right up until like 6:59 and then you have to go? Or do you need a little lead time? If I tell you where the matzah is, will you start? That was Elena. Well, I started, but you didn't tell me where the matzah was. I have no matzah, so I brought some wine. I figured that's the closest I could come. I've got nothing else relevant to the Seder. Just the wine. Mark just did the prayer over the wine. So did I. Didn't you? That was the prayer. I went through the... Brian did not forget his cheese. It just has nothing to do with the Seder. I can't forget the cheese because this program is sponsored by String Cheese for lovers of cheese and string theory. I know I'm going to have to repeat myself because how many more ways are there to say that? I wasn't late, Susan, but I have something good for you. Are you and Albert there? Elijah's just not that into you. That's what Oprah told me. Like cheers, all the regulars are here. Norm, Todd, alcohol, matzah, Mark, string cheese. Where's the fire? I was told there'd be fire. Oh, it's a virtual fireside chat. Well, there's certainly chat, and I have at least 2 sides, maybe 4 sides, maybe even more sides than that. But fire, you need to leave in 20 minutes. It would have been 30 if you'd been on time. You're out of here, mister. Elena, not even on the list. That's right, Elena. You're not chatting enough. You were chatty Cathy, Susan. Pull up my chat stats. They only show me the top like 8 or so. And you did not make it. You didn't make it that night. And you didn't make it that night. Wow. And I thought we were friends. Stan says expound upon the comets that are coming to the night sky. I don't know much about them, but yeah, I don't know to what degree they're visible, what you need to see them. I do remember, I guess it was the last pass of Halley's Comet, or Halley. Can, internet team, activate. What year did Halley's Comet come last time? And, Bill's going for quality, not quantity with his. See how carefully chosen that comment was? Unfortunately, there are no awards for quality. Just like a lot of things, it's just quantity. What did I say? Quality? They only judge you on quantity. Yeah, that's what I'm saying, Elena. Taking the Lord's name in vain on Passover. You did, not me. My other friend is a doctor. She was responsible for this thing that just happened and that I want to share with you. Something happened relevant to Todd. It's only 9:46. David, tell me when you actually have to go. I mean, tell me now what time you literally have to step out of the virtual door. Oh, Elena, you're cheating. One word per comment. No, you're cheating. Quality. Speaking of friends, what happened to you last night? Were you all pooped out from cheating on us? Yes, kind of. Yeah, I was a little burnt out, but you know what? I did do 2 live streams yesterday. Later at night, after I told you all that I wasn't going to do it, I almost did it anyway because I thought, well, I was on 2 live streams yesterday, but they weren't my live streams. But I made appearances on 2. And one was significant. I conducted about a half-hour interview of a scientist after we watched her talk. The other one I was in a little briefer, but you know, I kind of wanted to maybe stream something every day this month, and I kind of did, but I didn't. They did. I was just a guest. You spoke about Jesus. It was 1986, according to Google. Thank you, Denise. Well, Elena, get yourself some wine. Oh, 87 or 86? In any case, I do remember I have a star photo from an amateur astrophotographer that was one of my neighbors in Austin, Texas, who I didn't know this was going to come up, but I bought from him a really large photo of Halley's Comet. I mean, it's not that dramatic. It's pretty cool because it's not like anything else that we see in the sky. But it's not like, boom, boom, boom. You know, it doesn't like, jump out, but it's pretty damn cool. It's very pretty. And he also, and I still have this photocopy of a sheet where he labeled a lot of things in the image, the comet, and then what other stars or stuff was in the sky behind it. So, oh yeah, sorry, yeah, you're right. Bring back the bigger picture of you. I forgot we were still on that. We've moved on, but I forgot to move on. Thankfully, I had you guys in the studio. David, of those two suggestions you made, I did one. I need to ask you, what do you think about the quality of the stream? We're streaming about 3,600, even 4,000 kilobits per second right now. We did drop 135 frames earlier, but what I've engaged this buffer, David, in two different places. The settings are weird, but in two different places, I said that they could buffer the signal, and this would be in the hope that we don't have to drop frames, which we already did, or at least. What's the hope there, David? that it wouldn't lose sync or something? I don't even know if those are related, because that's the main thing. If you wind up here, hey, thanks, Susan. It's true. If you're there on Facebook, I implore you. It's no mere invitation. I implore you to come over to youtube.com/sciencecomedian. Science Comedian is my channel on YouTube, and that's where most of this chat is happening, and it helps me out because I'm trying to build up my YouTube channel. So I really want to go to this. I know it looks like I'm distracted and not paying attention to you, but what I'm doing is completely for you. I'm so selfless. But you don't know that, because part of my selflessness is not allowing you at any time to know that I am being selfless for you, because so I'm not even said this is going to be edited out in post, because even saying this contradicts what I just said. So many backseat technical directors. We want to see your face. Thanks. Somebody wants to see my face, but only virtually. No closer than, hey, you keep your face 6 feet or more away from me. We want to see your face on a tiny screen at a distance while wearing gloves with decontamination devices and antiseptic, what's the word I'm missing? Disinfecting wipes and soap everywhere. Oh, there's all sorts of stuff here. Scurrying in the crawl space. I don't know what that was. Did great on both. Oh yeah, thank you, Denise, for checking those out. We were all at the Astrology Humorist chat. Damn it! Is that another domain I have to buy? Astrology Humorist. Oh, Albert. Do you prefer briefers or boxers? On my partners? Or do you mean on me? I'm not even sure what you're asking. Are you asking me to dress you in the manner in which you sent me a pair of queen socks? I grew up like my father before me. From father to son, it was passed down that I would wear boxers. Father would often wear boxers and an undershirt and nothing more. And he didn't have like a body to be showing anything off. Anyway, I was raised on boxers. I mean, what did I say? Did I say boxers that whole time? I was thinking briefs because I was raised on briefs, not boxers. Take that whole thing back. That was not about boxers. That was about briefs. My father, just regular, like, Fruit of the Loom briefs. But at some point, decade or two ago, I think I could narrow it down to about a decade or two ago, I discovered that boxers could be comfortable, but it really depends how tight your pants are. If they're really loose, boxers are great, and in the way that they're loose too. But it really depends how they feel under your pants. But if you want to talk about sleeping and other stuff, that's an entirely different subject. So I went through a period where I really liked the boxers, but sometimes they're just not comfortable under pants. No pun intended, literally. Sometimes under your pants, they're not that comfortable. They're not that comfortable under pants. It's a grammar thing. It's not that they're not comfortable under pants. It's that they're not always comfortable under pants. See how I very subtly drew attention to the gap between those two words? Yes, dispatched with the stat view. I agree. I'm not aware of it. When I'm looking at you at the camera, all I see is the view on the camera, which is always me full screen. Oh, on the 10 plagues, so many backseat technical drivers. In my Seder, his makeup could be better. Have you heard of highlighter? You know what? It's been a few weeks. Like, I probably needed a haircut right about, or I could have, I don't need a haircut. Need is a funny word. But I could have gotten a haircut about when the lockdown began. And it'll be very interesting to see how our hair plays out through all of this. Denise, it's my stage manager background. It'll always be there. Yeah, buffer the signal. So you have to let me know if there are any time, is the image sharp? And if there are any places when it pauses or gets pixelated. I need to know these things. It helps me so I can perfect this. I don't have to talk about it all the time, but I do need to know because we're experimenting and we're just trying to get it good for you. For you. Selfless. Person that's leaving has 5 minutes. Damn it. Hey, Vanessa, thanks for tuning in. Non-practicing Jew. I'm only Jewish, Vanessa. Has she joined it? Questo, hello, Brian. Okay, Questo Piccolo Kaiju. Let's jump. Here's what I prepared for you. Okay, so as you know, I think we have time to do this. I saw this ad by Styx the other day. Remember, I saw this a long time ago. I shared it with you the other day. This was an ad I saw on Instagram. Let's take a look at it. Just
Styx. Light it up. Let's get this show on the road. Live in 2020. Tommy, JY, Lawrence, Ricky, Todd, Chuck, Styx.
what? Wait a minute. Who were those people? Could I even? Todd. Who? There's no one that. Hold on.
Styx. Light it up. Let's get
Lawrence?
this show on the road.
I know Styx. There was Dennis.
Tommy,
JY.
Lawrence,
Lawrence, Ricky, Todd. Who the fuck are these people?
August 2nd.
I don't know, but they aren't Styx. So anyway, that was very amusing. So today, my friend Sarah, that's Questo Piccolo Kaiju, we're Instagram pals, and she sent me this. She sent me this from the Styx Instagram account. It said, Tommy, Lawrence, Ricky, and Todd want to hear from you. Leave your comments and questions and comments below. What's your question for them? And they'll be getting together to answer your questions. They're going to FaceTime, bro. And, well, first of all, it's Tommy, Lawrence, Ricky, and Todd. What about Chuck and JY, okay? So what I wrote to this, to her, I mean. Like, so she sent this, and so what I did was, to her, I was like, I wrote to her because I thought it would be funny if I said, longtime Styx fan, could you please tell me who the fuck are Lawrence, Ricky, and Todd? Thank you guys, rock on. And then I sent her a follow-up saying, but wait, how come JY and Chuck don't want to hear from us? Because I don't know why they weren't on it. Well, here's the thing. I had something else to tell her, and when I looked at our chat, those messages right there, they weren't there. You know why? Because she didn't send me a screen cap of that. She sent me the actual, she shared the Styx post. And when I wrote that, I didn't write it to Sarah. I fucking wrote it to Styx. So, and it took me a second to figure that out. It's like, I just thought I was going, wouldn't this be, I thought I was just telling Sarah. But what happened is, that was just the moment of seeing, it's like, well, wait a minute, I just sent you, oh my God, I sent it to Styx. And, exactly, was JY poisoned? Heavy metals, that's hilarious. So, it turns out though, I freaked out for a second, but then I realized that I did not, luckily what I didn't do was, I didn't type it in that little place. I just put it at the bottom, like you respond to any Instagram story. That's what it was. It was an Instagram story that she shared with me. And I had just sent it there, and it just ends up like in your private messaging, and I was able to unsend it. So maybe that's an unsatisfactory ending to it, but I was able to first you have to do it in two separate steps. I clicked it and I copied it, and then I clicked it and I unsent it. And I copied it so that I could have this to show you. And then there was the second one, how come they don't want to hear from us? But I thought it was pretty funny, but it was only going to be funny to Sarah and maybe you guys. But for a second there, I accidentally sent that to Styx. But I pulled it. So I know that's an anticlimactic answer, because what if they had pulled that up? What if no one had pre-vetted them? So yeah. Ned Reamer's head is shaved. I do it myself. I'm letting it grow out in solidarity. So yeah, what happened to Chuck? Why not Chuck and why not JY? So two of the main guys, only the longtime Tommy would be there, and then these three guys from NSYNC or something that they loaned out to Styx. Yes, it happened. So I did ask them, but I was able to. JY just left singing "Babe, I'm Leaving." Well, he shouldn't be singing that song. Why can't they just bring Dennis back? What's the big deal? Lawrence, Ricky, Todd, Philippe, Enrique, and Chuck. I meant to, I should have prepared some other male names. Eric, Stephen, Bill, Albert, Mark, JY, Tommy, and Frederico. By Net Reamer, Todd's life is a lie. Hey, speaking of Albert, what was for, where the fuck are, wait, what does that say again? Long time, did you like that touch though? Long time Styx fan. Could you please tell me who the fuck? But you have to just appreciate the moment when I looked at my DMs to Sarah and that wasn't there. And it's like, and the realization that if it wasn't there, I had to have sent it to, and I'm like looking around, and then I had to click on Styx and then go to private message them, and there it was. But it happened all very fast, and they couldn't, nobody saw it. The only thing is the one possibility is if somebody that does it's probably not Tommy or JY, but it's probably Enrique or Philippe or Lawrence. Probably Todd has to also be in charge. Todd is on bass, and he also runs the Instagram account. And maybe he got a notification and saw the beginning of it. Longtime Styx fan, but who the fuck? And he was like, he'll never know, because then I unsent it. So, wow, it's amazing that Instagram has that feature, and it's amazing that I found out it had it. I didn't know for the first couple years, but now I've known for a while. So that was pretty entertaining. I think we can call it a night. We got that in, did I? I mean, there's one or two other things, but nothing funny and really nothing you haven't seen. There's always the classic. We always have that. I'm gonna prepare some other stuff. I have such a vast archive of video content and audio content that has largely not been seen. So, but you may have noticed I haven't put out a new virus video recently. Well, you know what? I was looking at my video from Dr. Barbara Sherry. I had interviewed her almost 3 weeks ago, and the one video I put out was about, can dogs carry the coronavirus? So that interview, today's April 8th, that was March 20th. And when I was watching it, a lot of it is just fine, but the perspective is a little different. Things have changed a lot since March 20th. And so, like, the way we looked at this issue, even if the facts some facts have changed, but in some cases it was like back on March 20th, in most parts of the United States, it wasn't that risky to be out and about because there weren't that many cases. But 3 weeks later, it's much riskier to go out at all or do anything. I mean, I'm not saying stepping outside is a huge risk, but I'm just saying things have changed significantly, though. When you interact with people, 3 weeks ago, the odds of someone that you run into being infected was really low. Now, it's not quite as low in a lot of places around the United States. So anyway, Vanessa, come on over to YouTube. Can you? Science Comedian. Come on over to my YouTube channel. It's better, and that's where all the chatting is happening. But I'm going to come back to Dr. Barbara Sherry because you're all commenting about Todd. So, yeah, I definitely asked them. Lawrence, Ricky, and Todd are now in therapy. Kimberly, oh, no, I haven't talked about the virologist interview, but you did miss my Sticks and Todd thing. Maybe we'll do it again in a little while. Todd knows. See, poor Todd, it's always something with that one. It must be his Brady middle child syndrome. That's probably what it is. Someone had to be honest with them. I know, but it's like, if I burn a bridge with sticks, I liked them a long, long time ago in a galaxy far, far away, Houston, and then Austin. But if I did burn a bridge with Ricky, Todd, and Lawrence, I guess it wouldn't be the worst thing. But that was not supposed to be a to their face joke. That was supposed to be a behind their back joke. Vanessa, I used to play them on the piano. My theory is that it has to do with writing rights. Wait, which part are you talking about? Do you know what Vanessa, did you tune in late? Have you seen the ad that I'm talking about? Stick around, Vanessa. Come on over to YouTube, and I'll show you in, what's Menudo? Todd's probably has good hair. That's Menudo. And Denise wants everyone to know, don't forget to like this video, on YouTube especially. You could do it wherever you are, on Twitter or Facebook, but on YouTube, give it a like. Thank you. And subscribe if you haven't. Time for the matzo and bitter herb sandwich. All I got, hold the mayo. Hold the mayo. That's like a, hold the mayo. If you put quotation marks, that would be like an old Jewish saying, right? What's in your cup on this Passover Eve? Mine's a red wine. Oh, yeah, Albert, they brought out the Wicked Flying V tambourine. Yes, Steve I rocks. He's doing a lot of live streaming on Facebook. Lots. Like, I think twice a week, 2 different things. He has 2 different titles for them, and they're 2 different ideas about what you can talk to him about. You need to move faster getting videos out. Get ahead of the curve. Okay. Hello, everyone. There's Elizabeth. Science Comedian. Come on, Vanessa. Science Comedian. No, name of band members. I don't know what you meant there, Vanessa. But Tequila, you're still on Facebook. Science Comedian. Brian Mallow, you can't miss me. It's on YouTube. YouTube.com. Look, Vanessa. YouTube.com/science comedian. You just put the YouTube.com and the / leave out the science comedian, and come on over to YouTube. Same thing, but better. So here's what happened. I'm looking at this old interview with this virologist, and it's amazing how much things can change in a few weeks. And not only that, but the questions that I wanted to ask her have changed. So we had spoken for more than an hour back then, and I only shared a little bit of it, but today we spoke again for a little more than an hour. And I can answer some questions for you, but I did the interview, and I've gone through I prepared the way I like it to look with making it into a 3-camera shoot. I did some processing to it, and I watched half of it so far, about 45 minutes. There's almost 90 minutes. There's some junk in there where we break off to talk and then come back to the interview. So I'm editing out those parts to see how long it is, but it's more than an hour. And here's the most significant thing that changed. I put out that video that's asked if dogs can carry the virus. Well, of course, animals can carry the virus as a surface. They can have, just like any other surface, like a handrail or a doorknob, it can be on them. Someone could cough on them, a lung full of virus particles, and you could rub your face in it and inhale it, or you could touch it and bring it to your face. That's possible, but it's a pretty low risk. That it's a low risk. But if you're sick, you shouldn't, you might want to practice some social distancing with your pet. Even if you live alone with them, that could be really difficult. But here's the thing, what's changed since March 20th is it turns out that cats can get infected by the coronavirus. There have been literally a few cases worldwide, and just think of all the millions of people that own dogs and cats. And there are a few cases, and there's something they tested in the lab where they infected a cat, and a cat in the cage next to it was able to get the virus through the air, not any other contact. So the cats can get it, they can show some symptoms, they can pass it to another cat. In a laboratory setting is the only place where we know that's happened. But there's literally like a few cases, one in Belgium and somewhere else, where a cat's been infected by its owner, who was infected. They showed some symptoms, but they came out of it just fine. No cat has died, as far as we know. So this is all as far as we know. And also, she really wanted to include the fact that it's still a really low risk. But if you're infected, practice some social distancing with your cat especially, and maybe with your dog, because your dog might socialize with other people. You could get virus on them, so at least as a surface. But so far, no infected dogs, and a couple on the entire flat Earth, from end to end of the flat Earth that God created and encased in a plastic dome, which is how we know the entire space industry is a lie. Every bit about that was sarcastic. You know, you could just take that out of context and make me look like a flat earther. Do it. Any press is good press, right? Drink. He said sink. Oh, we've dropped more frames. So I made a couple changes, and we actually have more dropped frames this time. We had 0 dropped frames last time. I'm speaking to NetReamer, but he's not here. But now we have a 197. So just tell me, are we in sync? Are we pixelated? Have you had any pauses or anything like that? Okay. Elizabeth says hi to Kimberly. I like the people saying hi to each other. It's very friendly here. Every once in a while there's a little clashing and a guy that announces that he's a racist. comes on and asks if he's welcome. My Velcro cat would not allow any sort of distancing, Denise. Yeah, most cats, well, most dogs wouldn't. Some cats would. Some cats are a little like, keep your distance. That would never be allowed here. I don't sneeze without Sophie planting herself on me to keep me still so she can monitor me. Well, look, you'd have to be sick in the first place, and then maybe she gets a little sick, but she comes through it. So it wouldn't be the biggest disaster. Okay, question for the virologist, unless you answer it. Will the virus mingle with the cat's genes and create anything else? Cats tend to carry different things. Well, I don't think that's not, I don't think that's the way viruses mutate. I think what happens is they get in to cells. And now here's the thing. Let me back up too, because I've always been curious about the fact that some viruses, maybe bacteria, but some viruses, it's very curious to me that they can be many places on your body and they're harmless. They have no effect. But then like the virus that causes pink eye, if it's on your hands, it's fine. It's on your legs, it's fine. But if it gets to your eye, turns them all red. This virus, if it's on your hands, that's not a problem. If it's on other parts of you. But if you inhale it and it gets into your lungs, that's where it's very problematic. Well, this virus gets into cells. And the reason it has to get into cells is because a virus cannot reproduce on its own. And that's why we say they're not really alive. They're not quite meeting our definition of life because they can't reproduce on their own. In order to reproduce, they have to get inside a cell of some other species and then use its machinery to make copies of itself. They turn the cellular machinery to its own uses. It's like a hostile takeover. Your cells under new management, they take over and they make more of themselves. It's a really interesting thing. And this virus, this new coronavirus, we have 20 or 30,000 genes, humans do. And remarkably, there's no sense to this, but there are very simple things like bananas. I don't know what it was, but there are some plants and other simpler creatures, what we think of as not as advanced as us, but we're a little biased, that have even more genes. This virus has 29 genes. They've sequenced it. They know a lot about it. They can see how related it is to a virus that comes from bats. And so they know it comes from bats because of this extraordinary similarity. And they can tell that it's not bioengineered because they can look at the genome and they see where it comes from, basically. But it only has 29 genes. That's remarkable, and that it's so efficient and can get in and do this interesting stuff. We have to bring it into our lungs itself, but the way it gets into our cells is through a certain receptor that so it evolved an ability to use this receptor that exists on some human cells. So it's called the ACE2 receptor. And our lungs, our respiratory cells have this receptor. Our hands don't, and a lot of places don't. There may be a few other places that do, but they might not be that accessible to the virus as far as we know right now. So right now what we know is it's not problematic here, but when it gets into our lungs, so imagine in our lungs, it can't control where it's going. We're providing all the transport. One person coughs it out and it lands on a handrail. You come along and pick it up from there, and then you bring it to your face and you inhale it. It didn't do any of this. It doesn't have legs. You did all the, they coughed it, you picked it up, you put it on your face, and then you sniffed it in. When it got in there, it found the ones that got in there, the ones here, there's nothing for them, and eventually they're just gonna die. The ones that get inside your lungs, they find that there's this receptor that they've got proteins on their surface that match the configuration of this receptor, and they connect, and it's like a door that lets them into the cell. And then once in the cell, they have the ability. I should learn a little more about what actually. You're right. Here's something I didn't ask. what's next? When they get into the cell, what do they do? What do you mean they take over the machinery? But, and I'm going to get to what you said, Susan. But what they basically do is they use the cellular machinery of that cell to manufacture copies of themselves. And they manufacture a lot of copies of themselves, and they start proliferating. And then I think some of what happens in our lungs is our body reacting to their presence. Our body the defenses start reacting to it. And the combination, the effect is that we start coughing. And when we cough, all these reproduced viruses get coughed out. So that's its method of travel. And then it begins again. When it lands some places, nothing happens and it just dies there. But when it lands in this place, it has a key to a door, it gets in, it makes more of itself, and they're spread. Some of most of you already know that. So here's the thing. There was a virus in a bat that probably couldn't infect us. And what happens is viruses mutate all the time. I mean, everything does. Our cells have mutations when they reproduce. Mutations are this natural thing. Cells are always reproducing, species are reproducing, cells are reproducing. When they do, there are always some duplication, there are some errors. And most of those errors are either useless or some of them are harmful. Some are so harmful that they end up causing diseases and stuff. But every once in a while, a mutation confers some interesting ability. So they don't know if this virus went directly from a bat to a human, or like the SARS and the MERS, the related coronaviruses that we've previously seen, they originated in bats, but they went through an intermediary animal. One went through something called a civet, a type of feline, a large wild feline, and the other went through MERS, the Middle Eastern Respiratory Syndrome, went through camels. Oh, I see. You heard that little ding. I forgot to close some things. But now they're closed. I don't know how many other notifications you might have heard. So the thing is, a virus is going to reproduce. It doesn't have anything to do with the host. It's going to make copies of itself when it's in there. And some of those copies, there's always imperfections. And maybe one of those imperfections, for instance, something about one of those mutations or some of those mutations made it so that when it was in humans, it could cause this problem. So you know what? Even before that, some bat virus, those viruses probably transferred also. Like other viruses that aren't able to get into our lungs and do that, they might end up on us and just never do anything. But some of them happen to have this configuration such that when they end up in our lungs, they cause that. Now, they didn't plan that. They didn't aim for that. It's like they're just spread out everywhere. And if they happen to find places where they can reproduce a lot, then it makes more of them. The others are going to die out. The ones that can't do that die out. But the ones that get in there make millions of themselves and then spread them. And then all of them have that mutation. Unless they mutate, then some of them don't. But it's a useful mutation, so some of them have it. So there you go. Let's go to the comments and see. I'm sure I have a lot of catching up to do. Perhaps cats created coronavirus to finish their plans for world domination. No doubt. I don't doubt that, Albert. Don't lick your cat. Questo Piccolo Kaiju says, I interrupt this totally important convo to say Brian May just posted about Jam with Bri again. The reason she said that specific thing is because she told, when Brian posted some videos and he liked the idea that someone had, Brian May, the guitarist for Queen. Did she even say all that? he posted some videos and some people took them and then they added drums to his guitar. And he liked that. And she told him that he should use Jam with Bry as a hashtag and invite people to do it. And then he recorded and he did a full version of the song Hammer to Fall. And so he's been using Jam with Bry. So we'll check that out. We're in sync. Sync looks good. We haven't been pixelated. Everything's fine. The bit rate is maintaining pretty high. But how many drop frames did I say before? We're at 197. I think that's what I said. Kimberly, I'm ashamed. I've defied the memories of my ancestors. What did you do, Albert? Sneaky viruses. They are. A few weeks ago when I interviewed her, when I said they're insidious, she said, not because, like I said, all they want is the same thing we all want, to reproduce. Well, we don't all want that. We've seen how it goes sometimes, so we don't all want that. But we're not so different. It just wants to survive and reproduce. It doesn't want to make you sick, and it doesn't want to kill you. You know, sometimes a virus, like Ebola, usually the reason Ebola hasn't spread widely is because it kills its host too quickly. And that's what's great about this one. The regular flu that comes around, the flus that we are used to, when you get them, within a couple days you have symptoms. And because of that, a lot of us will practice self-isolation. We won't go to work. We'll say, hey, don't shake my hand. I'm sick right now. But the thing about this one, the great thing about this one, the new coronavirus, is that you could be carrying it for a couple weeks before you develop symptoms. So that's great for the virus because for 2 weeks, you have it. You might be contagious. You might be breathing it out. Maybe you don't have a lot of it and your body's not responding and causing the coughing and the difficulty breathing. But you have it and you might be spreading it for 2 weeks. So you can see how Ebola kills people so quickly that it's not good for its spread. So just interesting, weird relationships. Albert says, and I am a wretched embarrassment. I hang up my tambourine in shame. I missed the gist of y'all's conversation. Kimberly, I'll get the bell for the walk of shame. That's less than a Jewish girl. High school, they have many more genes. Oh, that's less than a Jewish girl. They have many more genes. Don't be hard on yourself. You could be Todd. Exactly. It could be worse, Albert. Do they excrete waste in there? Oh, God, it's even grosser now that I thought that. You know, good question. I don't know if viruses eat, so I don't know if viruses need to expel any waste. I don't know. Good question. So I want to know, like, some specifics about what happens when they get inside the cell. And do they eat? Because, you know, one time I caught an insect. And at the time, the only camera I had that with a macro lens, it was this point and click by Olympus. It had a great macro lens, but it required bright sunlight for it to really get a good shot. Otherwise, you couldn't control the length of the exposure and it would be long and blurry. So if I caught an insect at night, I stopped at a gas station once on my way back from a gig, back to my apartment in San Francisco, and I was getting gas and I saw a really interesting fly. It turned out to be a mayfly. I didn't really have experiences with mayfly in the places that I grew up, and it was really neat looking. So it was yellow and it was different from anything I had seen, but I recognized that it was a mayfly. I captured it. I couldn't photograph it then. I knew that I needed to keep it until the next day and photograph it in the sun. So I reached out to an entomologist friend of mine and I said, hey, I caught this mayfly. I want to keep it alive until I can photograph it. And what does it eat? What do I feed it? And they told me in this adult form, this is the adult form of the mayfly with wings. They said it doesn't eat at all. It has no digestive system. In its adult form, you know, the mayfly, it only lives 24, 36, 48 hours. It lives very briefly, just long enough to reproduce. And then I don't know. I guess the female probably lays eggs somewhere, and when they hatch, there's a larval form, and it probably eats and grows. I don't know the length of its life, but it's longer in the larval form. But that adult form only exists long enough to reproduce. And I mean, that's true of a lot of things, but I used to joke about something like that, where they live just long enough to, get a bite to eat, reproduce, get a bite to eat, and then they die. This one, they don't even eat. But that fascinated me. Like, the idea of a creature that has no digestive system and doesn't eat at all. How unlike us that is. So a virus, who knows? I have no idea if a virus eats or excretes. Comments? He's talking good stuff, do you think? Is this interesting? Lock and key, Brian. It is. It is like a lock. Let's change the lock. Yeah, you can't. So, and then for other stuff specific to this virus, we don't know enough. In fact, maybe I should have asked her what we know about SARS and MERS, because there's a lot of specifics that we're still learning about. So even what we talked about today, I need to get it out fast, and I will, just like before, I've included the date on all of these, but I'm going to include an explicit message that explains that we're still getting to know this thing and learn about it. So this is the most up-to-date, research-based information that they have right now. But of course this can change. Science, things in science can always change. And you have to understand that. But in this case, obviously it can change, because there's so much still to learn about this. Everyone drink. Todd probably drops frames. Maybe here's the thing that I need to realize. Not every comment needs to be read on the air, right? Some of these comments are you guys having fun, talking amongst yourselves. Note to self. Some of these comments are just, I should only read the ones that are addressed to me. And one thing that would help is sometimes if you put the word Brian in it, then I'll see that, and then I'm ignoring you. Everybody drink. If you're in sync. If you care about sync, everybody drink. So, of course, the kind of network fluctuations that I've experienced, there's no consistency. If I don't have them tonight, it doesn't mean that it's because I changed the settings on the software. It could mean that the other night was a problematic night. Maybe my neighbor next door was downloading 12 movies, and that's why my bandwidth dropped. Who knows? All I know is we're still at 197 drop frames. All I know is that today, I received an Ethernet adapter that goes into the Thunderbolt port on my laptop. Apple, I ordered it. It came pretty darn quick. But the network cable itself that I don't have, it could be 5 days, a week, or 2 weeks. I don't know. All my other orders, I've needed a couple other bits of gear, are delayed because there's so much ordering and delivering happening. Viruses don't eat, Todd eats. But see, I have to read some of your comments because they are kind of funny. Kinda. I'm not going to say leave the humor to me because I need the humor to come from y'all. Hail Todd, hail Todd. What was Todd's larval form? Lawrence, Ricky, Todd. Todd is the adult form. Lawrence is the egg, Ricky is the larval form, and Todd is the adult. Oh, what a sad case when Todd is the adult. Ned Reamer, don't read this. I'm only here for a moment anyway. I'll just want to see if he'll ignore me. Hi, Darla. You wrote Brian ! But you didn't have a question. Kimberly says, this is about the mayfly. It lives a long life underwater. Don't worry. They even have cool butt gills to propel around, and they're big bullies, so karma. Yeah, I just think that's fascinating. Also fascinating to me about insects are just insects that metamorphose, that go from a caterpillar to a butterfly or a moth. You'd feel like you got ripped off. What? We were both caterpillars. Now you're a beautiful butterfly and I'm a hideous moth. Although there are a couple beautiful moths. but a lot of moths are sort of plain colored and blend in. And most butterflies are brightly colored and send the signal that you don't want to eat this because it's probably poisonous. But a lot of moths just blend in. They're like browns and whites. And but the Luna moth, there are some spectacular moths that you just got to say, hey, you're almost as beautiful as a butterfly. Butt gills, that's the word of the day. So let me show Kimberly this again. And anyway, it's still amusing. Kimberly, this was the Styx ad. I finally get to show you the way proper. This was the Styx ad that I once saw on Instagram.
Styx. Light it up, let's get this show on the road. Live in 2020. Tommy, JY, Lawrence, Ricky, Todd, Chuck, Styx.
That last guy was...
Live at D-Pack.
That last guy was Steve Vai. Did you see that? It was Chuck Panazzo, but he totally looked like Steve Vai. Okay, so that was the ad, and it's like, Styx.
Let's get
This show on the road. Fake Dennis DeYoung. Tommy, JY. Who the fuck are Lauren, Ricky, and Todd? So you know that's how I feel about it. So my friend Sarah, let's call her Sarah. Sarah, on Instagram, we're Instagram pals. So she sends me a DM of something that Styx posted. Oh, wait, hold on. Don't even read that. Damn it. Okay, avert your eyes. I didn't. Just forget that for a second. So she sends me a DM showing me something that Styx posted on Instagram. And like an Instagram story, and you can post these questions or polls. It says, Tommy Shaw, Lawrence Smith, Ricky Smith, Todd Smith. Where's JY and where's Chuck? I don't know. But Tommy, Lawrence, Ricky, and Todd want to hear from you. Leave your questions and comments below. And the guys will be getting together for FaceTime to answer. So I sent to her what I would have written in there. And I told her that this is what I would have written in there. I would have written, longtime Styx fan, could you please tell me who the fuck are Lawrence, Ricky, and Todd? Thank you guys, rock on. And then how come JY and Chuck don't want to hear from us? So that's what I sent to her. And then I had something else to say to her. So I went to say something else to her, and in our DM, those previous messages weren't there. I was like, wait a minute, why aren't they there? And they weren't there because I had sent them to Styx instead of to her. I'm sorry. I don't know if it's still funny to the rest of it. It's still funny to me. It's that I wrote this thinking I was saying it to her for a laugh, but in fact, I thought she had sent me a screenshot. She'll send me a screenshot of something sometimes, and I'll write back and we'll mock it. And so I did, and I wrote this, and then I had to go click on Styx and look at the DMs, and sure enough, there it was in our DMs. I had written this to Styx, and then the anticlimactic finish is that Instagram DMs have a great feature. You can unsend them. So I unsent them, I think, before they were seen. You can also see, usually it says seen if they've been seen. And this is Styx. And Todd is probably having to do this. In addition to being a bass player, he probably has to check the Instagram stream. So why is it? Yeah, it's JY. Yeah, Albert. It's JY, but Larry is Lawrence. He is Lawrence. And anyway, I keep saying, oh, great, I get to watch 2 different 20-minute segments of this not a show, and it's the same 20-minute story. Well, Kimberly tuned in, and she had missed it completely, and I just thought it was only fair, and it's still funny to me. It's going to be funny to me for a while longer, so let me suck every bit out of it and remind you that our sponsor, we have a second sponsor tonight, Tiny Bananas. From the makers of larger bananas. But for those of you on a budget, maybe it's just a carbohydrate budget. But little bananas, ooh. Why is it interesting? Is it looking weird and overexposed right there? That's the green. Why is it? Wow. See, look, it's not like that. That's just weird. That's the green part. When it gets shiny, it overexposes. It's a shiny banana. And Food Lion. We want to sell you peanuts, but we're not interested in investing in a graphic designer. I haven't eaten too much today, so that's why I have to have this stuff nearby. But string cheese. Let's dig in. Albert, what did you have to eat today? I think I tried to ask you that earlier, but I don't know if you answered. What did anyone have to eat today? What's anyone drinking right now? And furthermore, silver linings. Shirley, my silver lining for tonight is I get to share this stick stuff. If I wasn't doing, this isn't, well, yeah, it is because of the virus. If I wasn't doing this live stream, this whole sticks thing would just be a screen recording of the ad in my camera roll on my phone. It would be nothing more than that. But because of the virus, and because I've been... the virus, the bat begat the virus begat the quarantine begat me live streaming begat Todd. So this is a portion of your Passover Seder. And then there's a song that we all sing. And you know what? My friend isn't here for me to argue with, but the other day, I tried that other method of picking off the strings with your fingers. No. I 100% confirm what I knew in my heart all along. It's a dirty way to do it. It's the way it comes off. No, you just grab it with your teeth and pull it right into your mouth as God intended. It's definitely more gross to use your finger. You don't at me. Let's see what we got. We can now talk about Brian all we want. We need to get off. Darla, get off of Todd. Good luck getting Darla off of Todd. Oop, my earpiece is coming out. Why didn't you tell me? Why do I have to get off Todd? See? She immediately argued with you. You better hope you didn't piss off the Todd. Do you know how many people watched, I don't care about the reboot, but the original series of Futurama? If you haven't, you geeks need to watch it because it's brilliant and hilarious. I'm not sure about the reboot. I watched a few and I didn't get into it, but they might have gotten good. But the original ones are so good. And there was the Hypnotoad. Do you remember the Hypnotoad? That was awesome. The story is funny. Thank you, NetReamer. Greg. Oh my God, Albert. Exactly. That banana is as big as a rock. Where do you remember that from? Have I mentioned the rock? I think on an earlier stream. Wow. Do you know that I've already done this is about the 18th one. Pretty good. I mean, I had really been neglecting my YouTube channel. Now I'm abusing it. Verily. Hi Craig, how are you? Did you hear the stick story or do I need to tell it a third time? You haven't been on. Oh. Maybe you have. Craig, you didn't hear it the first time, though, where I gave it its full thing. But the banana as big as a rock, it's radioactive, frozen hot wing. Okay, here's what people are eating. Frozen hot wings, Denise. Albert, oh my God, Albert, you always make me jealous. Prime rib, baked potato, the crushed dreams of my enemies. Oh, just sprinkled on top? Mwah. Darla says it looks black. Yeah, that banana. Silver linings. Niantic changed the coding in Wizards Unite so it can be played totally from home due to COVID-19 lockdowns. Okay, Susan. I think I understand what you're saying. There's a lot of jargon in there, but I think I get the gist of it. Anyone else? Why am I watching you eat cheese? Craig, did you see the sticks part? I heard the sticks. From the beginning, did you see the video? And I don't mean you heard it weeks ago. I mean today. I'm hungry, Craig. What did you have to eat? I'm hungry, and string cheese is our sponsor. Don't you know this by now? You haven't been tuning in enough. For people who love string theory and dairy products, there's only one answer. What are you doing, Craig? Having a Seder? Are you celebrating Passover? My Goyish friend? Brian, 18th live stream. Well, you know, Bill, the first couple streams were like hour and a half. Then it started to get to be around 2 hours, and then 2.5 a couple times. And then it was the 2 weekend shows. Friday and Saturday were 3.5 hours each. So, I built up a big surplus, which is why I had to take off last night. Ramen, another day that ends in Y. Netreamer, you really love that ramen. You live in a place with awesome Japanese food, and you're just eating ramen? Go get yourself some sushi, my friend. Craig, I'm hungry. So we have clips we could play, but also, let's, these weeknights, we're not doing 3.5 hours. On a weeknight, what's the point of that? We have stuff to do. We have to get up and quarantine tomorrow. Darla just likes the sound effects when I eat. All right, there you go. Craig, you guilted me into eating it in a manner that I don't even get credit. I don't even get credit for that. I ate it like it was a block of cheddar cheese or something. I ate it like it wasn't string cheese at all. And I feel bad about it. And I blame you, my temporary Canadian friend. Hey, Darla, I have a friend in Canada. He goes to visit his girlfriend. Lockdown. And now what's he going to do? If he comes back to the States, he probably can't go back to Canada. She probably can't come to the States. So, Craig, you're still in Canada, right? Albert has a silver lining. I'm setting up a medical office so they can do virtual appointments. You're setting up, he's a web developer, so you're setting a medical office up so they can do virtual appointments, telemedicine, and live streaming presentations. An actual paying client. Yeah. Well, was your work falling off? Because what you do is largely virtual anyway, right? You're doing web development. I know you have a lot of clients that are restaurants, but how were you impacted by this whole thing? Netreamer says the sushi place near me is closed until further notice, like every business on that block except the supermarket. Yeah. Do you have any places that are delivering? If not sushi, I mean just in general, do you have delivery places? So do we want to talk about, while you ponder that and come up with some answers, does anyone... Is there anything about Trump that you want to talk about? Or the virus? We don't have to. I can tell you something else I learned today in my interview, not with a vampire, but a virologist. I asked her a lot of questions. I asked her one question about, for different viruses, different populations can be the most vulnerable or susceptible to it. And interestingly, the 1919 influenza hit very hard younger people, 20 to 40 years old, healthy. And in that case, it had something to do with not the virus itself in a way, but the immune response of those healthy people. The people that had the most robust immune system, it was their reaction to the virus that became problematic. And something about a cytokine storm. And I don't know the details on that, but it was really, it's like there's two things going on. There's what the virus can do to you, but then it's our response can be problematic. So this virus is preferentially hurting seniors and people that are immunosuppressed, and then in terms of why are older people more susceptible? And she said that it was that their immune systems are not as robust. So as we get older, our immune system can be a little weaker. I didn't probe any deeper than that, but I think that we could go deeper with that. What actually happens? Why would your immune system get weaker, except that you're not needed? Once you've reproduced, served your role in our little society, and we're done with you. Oh yeah, I have another interesting one. Because I asked her, you know, we tend to think of bacteria. Most people think of bacteria and viruses, bacteria, germs, and they're bad for you. But you know, there are millions of species of bacteria probably. And most of them have nothing to do with us. Many of them are on us right now and harmless. Some of them are harmless unless they get inside our body or into certain places. But a lot of them are totally harmless to us. And then some are problematic. But some might actually be good for us. We have bacteria in our gastrointestinal tract that actually help us digest some foods. And so some bacteria can be beneficial. Some bacteria that just are all over our skin, they serve a positive purpose in that it's hard for harmful bacteria to get a foothold because they're sort of blocked out by all this beneficial or harmless bacteria. So similarly, I asked her, what about viruses? Because there are millions of viruses. We have only discovered a fraction. There are so many. And most of them have nothing to do with humans. Most of them are harmless to humans. But the ones that we are most concerned with are the problematic ones. They're problematic to us or animals that are important to us. And I asked her, are there any viruses that are actually beneficial to us? And there are. And she had a kind of surprising answer. She said that it's going to sound strange, but the herpes virus, first of all, there's, I guess, multiple strains of it. And she said that, of course, you know, it can cause breakouts and be problematic. But very often, the herpes virus resides in us and it doesn't seem to be doing anything problematic. And you might not even know it's there, but your body knows it's there. And there's more to our body's defenses than just this immune reaction and antibodies. So it's not an antibody stimulation, I think she said, but that it was like our body does react to its presence in some way. And it turns out that way is sort of beneficial to us, just in the same way that vaccines or the exposure to a virus may cause us to be immune to it later, which we still don't know about this one. But in that same sort of way, the presence of the herpes virus in you can stimulate your body's defenses in a way that actually has some benefit to us. So it's always kind of surprising when something that you think of as the herpes virus and that might have a positive effect on you. Interesting. Things I learned today. That one I also learned on March 20th, but I learned it again today because I asked her again. Craig is still in Canada. What's all this about a satyr? Is there a nymph involved? What did I say, like satyr? And a satyr who's in her lady's gown. Dirty fellow. What a dirty laddie-o. Actual paying client. What's that? Said the out-of-work magician. Can't you just make some work appear, Bill? What kind of magician are you? Kimberly says, depends on what metamorphosis we're discussing. Sometimes, yeah. Brian has TV to watch. I don't understand why you said that, Darla. I came to work one morning and was replaced by Todd, said Albert. Seriously, restaurant clients have no money to invest. Ah, that's right. So a lot of your clients, you do web development. Very clever, Albert. You love food. You love to eat out. So you have all these clients that are indebted to you, and you eat well at their restaurants. That's nice. But hopefully they pay you cash sometimes too. But right, they're all hurting, so they don't need any web services. So, yeah, you got to get some new clients that work in the virtual world. But then if they work in the virtual world, they already have a web team. Oh! Yeah, our defense gets juiced up. That's how Edward Cullen became a vampire. He was dying during the 1918 Spanish flu outbreak. Susan, Edward Cullen, vampire in something? I don't know that reference. Darla, there's worse places to be locked down than in Canada. That's true, and he's in Ontario, in a cool place. I think, Craig, are you somewhere near Waterloo? Wow, because another friend of mine is there and might be stuck there longer because she's at the Perimeter Institute in Waterloo. Astrophysicist Katie Mack, Astro Katie on Twitter. Ask for her by name. That's right. No, it's not a virus that replaced members of Styx. That was just Todd. Todd is Edward. Twilight. Oh, Twilight. It's a thing I've heard of. It's a time of day that I love, but I've never seen any of those Twilight things. Movies, TV shows, comic books, spin-off shows and CDs, games, Twilight the game, where you try to bite as many people as you can. Great, Denise knows that too. Albert must know it, but Albert, would you have known it if not for Susan? Because I know nothing about Twilight. But let's see what else I asked. Social distancing, why the 6 feet? And the 6 feet, that doesn't come from this virus, but in our previous experience with the viruses, researchers, just in determining like a safe distance for droplets that are expelled when you cough or exhale. But we're at a situation right now where the real recommendation is that you stay home. If you're out, maintain a distance. Mask, here's another thing. So I asked her if it was, what about the changing recommendation for masks by the CDC, Center for Disease Control? And I asked if that was a mistake previously. And she said no. That the CDC doesn't just change their mind for no reason. It's based on the evidence. And at that time, it didn't seem like they should recommend wearing masks. And masks were needed by medical professionals, especially those N95 ones, or even surgical masks, and we didn't really need them. But what's changed is our knowledge of the virus and how much it has spread. So now, even if it's just we still don't think regular people should be walking around with these. What the N95 masks are for healthcare workers that are right in someone's face who's coughing and they're trying to help them. That's what those are for. We don't need that. You should maintain a distance from someone, and you could have a surgical mask, but really just homemade cloth masks they're not really to protect you from them. You distance yourself to protect yourself from them. But protect other people from your coughing. Protect handrails and things in your own hands from your own coughing and breathing. So, but she didn't think it was a mistake. It was just that the situation has changed. Does anyone know about a mask labeled KN95? I don't know anything about that. Darla, it misses eating out. Yeah, one day we'll be able to eat out again. It may not be for a little while, though. But it'll happen. Ontario, that's not the worst part of it. Can't be. Ontario's cool. I've been there a bunch of times. It's all right. It's all right. So what out? So hand washing versus hand sanitizers and disinfectant wipes. The alcohol. Oh, here's something she said also, which you might be inclined. Let's all drink on this one. She said, don't take any alcoholic beverage in your home or from out of your home and try to make a hand sanitizer out of it that mixed with some aloe, just like that's not going to be a dependable, effective defense. So don't go mixing drinking alcohol to make any of these disinfectants. But she said those disinfectants, that alcohol does inactivate the virus. It does disrupt its outer membrane, and that's great. But the reason why hand washing is even better is because it's a twofold, two-pronged attack, which is if you wash your hands under the water physically washes away a lot of the virus. It physically washes it away. So, and especially like you might not get every nook and cranny with your soap, but you have two things going on. You get the soap everywhere you can, and the soap does chemically disrupt the membrane and renders it inactive. But the running water also helps. So both of those things, that's what makes it really even better than hand sanitizer and stuff, because you're washing away a lot of it and killing as much of it as you can with the soap. So that's good, huh? And soap is easier to obtain than hand sanitizer and such. Craig says, maybe it's the worst part of Canada, Darla, but it's where my best gal is. Gonna give him that? It's still okay. I like Ontario. Kimberly says the stretchy black one, is that you're talking about the KN95? I don't know anything about those. That would be such a waste of drinking alcohol. That's the thing. You should drink your drinking alcohol. Is anyone drinking tonight? I'll have you know that I barely ever drink. And the only reason I am is because it's Passover. So, that's spoken like a true alcoholic even. It's like, what's tomorrow? The day after Passover. Woo, everybody drink. 2 days after Passover. Slam it. Shots for everyone. Albert says, all I know is that about Twilight, all I know is that they have glittery vampires. Glitter? Glitter is the herpes of Kraftwerk. Kraftwerk was a 70s band. Who's in a 70s band and knows all about herpes? Todd. It all comes back. The circle of life. Ontario doesn't suck. It can't. Toronto doesn't suck. I like Toronto. It's a cool city. Oh, wait, Craig, are you in Ontario or are you are, right? Near Waterloo, right? Yeah. Happy Passover, everybody. Drink up. Glitter is the herpes of Kraftwerk. Wow. If somebody ever sends you a greeting card and it has a little bit of glitter on it, don't you hate that person? Like, do not send me any glitter. It's not your problem. Stick it in there, send it away. I open it, now I've got to deal with glitter. It is the herpes of Kraftwerk, the 70s band. Here's something I asked her about masks as well. A couple days ago, my neighbor was in that house right over there. My neighbor was taking his dog for a walk, and he was wearing a mask. I knew that he wasn't going to come into any close contact with anyone. He would avoid close contact with humans. So I asked him, I wasn't challenging him. I wondered what his reasoning is why he was wearing the mask. And he said 2 reasons. 1, it prevents me from touching my face as much. 2, it helps destigmatize it. The more people see people wearing masks, in some Asian cultures, there's no stigma. They've got a culture in which they've been wearing masks for reasons like this. Not just, they've been doing it for maybe even a couple decades, where if somebody thinks they're sick, they'll wear a mask. You see people sometimes at airports, but it's not uncommon in their culture, no stigma. Here, it's a little weird. But interestingly, I could have prepared a couple images that I don't have the rights to. I saw some images from the 1919 influenza epidemic. And this is the thing about forgetting history. Like, this seems so weird and new to us, but you should see these photos. Go look up pictures from the 1919 flu, and you'll see tons of people wearing masks. You'll see hospitals filled with otherwise healthy-looking young people that are sick and dying. But there were so many people wearing masks. People outside in parades, or wearing masks. Like, they were so everywhere. So we, right now with us, it's like it's a weird thing and people might think it's odd, but the more people see it, the more they'll start to get used to it and not think it's just some stupid Democratic host. Did you see the story about the woman in Texas who she had been ranting about what a Democrat conspiracy the whole coronavirus was, and she said, you don't need masks, you don't need any of this stuff. And what she said you need is faith and, of course, guns. It's always gotten to me. It's like, who are these people that, if you have God, you say you have God and you have faith, why do you need a gun? I've never quite understood that. You're like, how's your faith if you need a gun? It doesn't make sense to me. Anyway, this woman ranted about what a conspiracy it was and how stupid it was, and it's the beginning of socialism and they're trying to take over. Well, she got the virus and she died of the virus. And what do you do with that? Again, it's like we don't want to say I told you so. We just want you to listen to the scientists. We don't want to go ha ha ha. You got what you deserved. That's not even what we're inclined to say for the most part. What we want is, why was your reaction so weird? Why didn't you listen to the scientists in the first place? And that's why we don't even know how to react to that. Stratford is where Craig is. So, Darla, Stratford's probably a cute little place. And they have a Shakespeare festival. Craig, you wouldn't be in Canada right now if it weren't for Shakespeare. Just think of all those little chains of events. If not for Shakespeare, and if not for however you got addicted to Shakespeare, you wouldn't be in Canada right now. And you wouldn't be in the particular relationship you're in right now. Anna Miller-Hodis said, I was amazed how the soap works with its molecules. Doesn't one side attract water and one attract the oil, fatty outer coating of the virus? Yeah. No, it's exactly like that. Right? It's two ends. One has an affinity for water and one has an affinity for like oily stuff, and it's how it pulls dirt and stuff away. There must be something about like the way it works on that's how it pulls dirt away from us. How it works on the membrane of the virus might not be exactly that aspect, because I got the impression that it disrupts the membrane somehow, and physically because of the way they connect to each other. Maybe I actually need a little more detail on that. But that is how soap works. It's pretty fascinating. Like, it seems so simple. It's so simple that that I've heard people go, I saw someone another skeptic a couple weeks ago was saying, oh yeah, right, and soap kills it. And you can sort of understand where they're coming from. It's like, oh, you're trying to tell us it's this horrible thing, but soap kills it. But if you'll remember, the Death Star was a big, scary, powerful, damaging, horrific thing, and it had a little vulnerability too, right? And they found it. But back in reality, not science fiction, not fantasy, but it's just chemistry. This virus happens to be having a devastating effect on us. It's not this big monster, but it is having this devastating effect on us. It happens to transmit from human to human really well. It happens to get to our lungs easily and have this effect and the way we respond to it. And it can be lethal. But I can understand when you take all that and then somebody's skepticism of going like, oh, right, but soap kills it. Right. When in reality, those two things have no connection to each other. Yeah, soap kills it. But if it doesn't, it can be really bad for you. I bet we can come up with some other examples. Help me out with that. How about some analogies? And I mean, the Death Star one is one that's in fantasy, but what about in the real world? Like, whatever, a car can do all these things, but it can also get a flat tire and reduce its ability to do it. We can do better than that, though. So here's this virus, scary, capable of killing us, and it just brought down, I mean, it's sort of like War of the Worlds. The aliens were brought down by a virus or a bacteria or something, by something microscopic that they had no immunity to. But again, that's fiction. So something in the real world, I mean, you could build a magnificent house made of wood, like an old Victorian home, and then a match and a fire can bring it down. But surely there's something big and scary, but that can be taken out pretty easily. Or it has an Achilles heel. God, we even have a word from mythology for it, a term from mythology. So I know there's more examples. Susan said unicorn herpes. Darla got into the vodka, but for drinking, not for making disinfectant. Netreamer, when masks are destigmatized and the norm, will crime go up? Well, there's an issue. Did you see what Fauci said too? There's a couple things concerning race in the news, and one is that people of color wearing masks, they feel a little funny about it because, some of their friends haven't always been treated in the kindest way when they were wearing a mask or something. That like they just feel like this is not going to bode well for them if they put on a mask and go out in public, that some crazy white people are going to lose their shit and do something stupid. Also, did you see that Fauci, or Dr. Fauci, addressed the fact that in the United States, there's a huge disparity in the deaths, with people of color being all out of proportion being victims, and there's something that needs to be addressed here. It's just like highlighting an issue that's a lot of people have known for a long time, but where health awareness and health care for people of color is disproportionately poor. And I think they're connecting it to things like incidence of obesity and diabetes and other things. So I think it's early and there's a lot to learn about this, but Fauci addressed this publicly, and I read an article about it. So, Darla, Toronto is literally the asshole of Canada. I've had a good time there. Netreamer, maybe just unsolved crimes, Yeah. So Susan got into an argument with her. I'm not sure the virus is to blame, says Albert. Netreamer, if God didn't want us to have guns, why did he give us the intellect to invent them? Yeah. My friend Tom Hester used to say that this would be a great video, like if you go, if God intended us to fly, he would have given us wings, and then have an airplane go, yeah, right. He did. Yeah, that argument works with anything, Netreamer, Albert. Yeah, he knows that, Albert. Oh. You're talking about the woman who was ranting because she had quite a long rant about the virus. Okay, Susan says I actually had words with that woman a few weeks ago. Her hubby is now in serious condition in the hospital, and they have 2 sons who may end up orphans because their mom was an ignorant person. I know. Yeah, Craig, stay on target. Stay on target. I can't hold on. She's breaking up. Albert can disarm a hydrogen bomb with a wire cutter. When I was at the last gig that I've had, possibly my last gig ever, at Los Alamos National Lab, they have this museum called the Bradbury Museum. It's not for Ray Bradbury, but one of the early directors, one of the first directors of the Los Alamos. They showed one of the devices. They have what's the mechanism for triggering the bomb, and oh my God, it's so fascinating to look at. There's so much, it's like quite a feat of soldering and wiring, and it's this whole thing that it was necessary for the bomb to work to using conventional explosives in a sphere push these less than critical masses together. But it had to happen from all sides, multiple explosives, and it had to be very precisely timed because if there was any unevenness, it wouldn't work. And so they had to account for things like the lengths of wires. The wires to the different parts around this sphere, it was bigger than that. They had to account for the time it would take the electrons to travel through the wire, so the length of the wires. And anyway, just to see the craftsmanship of this thing that was put together, and one is a device that was made there without the radioactive material available, is there at the Bradbury Museum. Very cool. Alton teaches us to wash our hands. And Susan provided a link. She was in Tomball. That's not a surprise. Alton Brown teaches us to wash our hands. Just string the link together. Oh, did it break over the line or something? There. Oh, you deleted the other one. Or no, it didn't work. Oh, I see. There's an extra space. Well, here's one other question I asked. Here's another virus question. I was asking about the seasonal flu that we have to deal with. Why is that problem? Why haven't we been able... First, I asked her about the common cold. Why haven't we got a vaccine for that? And she said that's because there are like 100 different strains of... There might be a couple coronaviruses involved, but they're mostly a different kind called rhinoviruses. And they're like 100 different strains. It would require like 100 different vaccines. And it's not worth putting the resources toward developing 100 vaccines when the common cold isn't that destructive to us. We survive it. Most of us do, to a large percentage. So I asked her, so why is the seasonal flu so problematic that even if you get a vaccine, you may not be immune to it, and about it changing? And she said one of the things about that flu is that it has an animal reservoir. It can exist in some other animals. And I remember she mentioned like waterfowl, like ducks and geese. She might have mentioned something else. But I think the point there was like, even if you get it out of us, it's still residing, it's residing in other animals. I don't have the complete answer to that. It was a long interview. I didn't retain it all, but I recorded it all. So I'll bring it to you later. But that was just an interesting topic, I thought. And a lot more, but I've only gotten through a little more than half of it so far to write down what my questions were. So I mentioned Trump. I see on Facebook he's considering pardoning Joe Exotic. Did you see that other guy who got pardoned in Australia? The religious figure, I don't know what his official title is, but he had been found guilty of sexual harassment or rape. I don't know what the exact charges were either. I know very little about all this. But he was found guilty of all that stuff, and a higher court overturned the whole thing, and he's free. Guess it's okay. Pardoning Joe Exotic. I wonder, do you think in these recent weeks Trump has watched The Tiger King, all 7 episodes? He's not golfing as much. You think he's watching The Tiger King? Whew. Did you see this? It's amazing his reading comprehension and his reading, his ability to read. Not the comprehension. We know that's probably poor, but the way he doesn't play to the camera very well. He's not as charismatic as our last president. He can't speak off the cuff. He can't speak eloquently. He's looking down and reading something that he just always seems like a 5th grader taking a reading test, an oral reading exam, and he's terrible at it. It's so offensive to me. Yeah, why did they overturn it? I didn't read the story. I just saw the headline, and it's like, Jesus. Jesus! I don't know why they did. So, help me out. We have to know now. Since the last time we spoke about it, we've now dropped 382 frames, significantly more than we had before, about double what we had dropped before. So tell me, are we in sync? Do I seem to be in sync? I wonder if we're in sync. I wonder why we dropped frames tonight when we didn't the other night. It has this, did I disable that flexibility? I'll have to check the settings again, but I gave it this buffer. I thought that would help. Drink, we're talking sync, but importantly, just tell me, have we had any issues with pixelation or with the signal dropping out? And am I in sync? In Canada, they drink and drive. I'm still in sync according to Denise. But I need confirmation from the rest of you. Let me do a quick check here. What are all these about? Okay. I don't remember Mike Garr ever showing up. Did Mike Garr ever show up? So, it's a weeknight. We can probably rack things up. Okay. Minor buffering issues. But what do you even mean when you say that? You've had it pause and then catch up, but you probably didn't lose anything. NetReamer. Earlier, I explained you weren't here. I did activate that buffer, but we've been dropping frames. I think the only thing I changed was in 2 places I said allow buffering, but now we've dropped 382 frames and we didn't drop any the other night. And I understand that maybe that was a bad night, or wasn't that night that it dropped way down. I don't know. All I know is that the bit rate has stayed high as far as I can tell. I don't look at it all the time. It's so weird. Your sync is so perfect that Todd himself can't improve it. Yeah, no loss. So the buffering is okay. I just want to remain in sync. That's the only thing that matters. I don't care what that says as long as we stay in sync. But what do you say? We'll come in at just under 2 hours. You know what? These shorter ones are not getting me as many watched hours. But, I can't just stay on forever to get more hours. David Spark. David Spark, we meet again. You don't want to see all my frames. We're wrapping up, David. And in the future, David, do me a favor. If you ever see that I'm streaming and you want to join in and engage in the chat, all the chatting is really happening over at YouTube. Plus, I'm trying to build up my YouTube channel. I need watched hours. So, David, have you subscribed to my YouTube channel? Come watch some videos there. Give them a like. Do me a favor, dude. And, David, talk more about buffering. Now I'm speaking your language. David, how are you? And how badly is your business affected? Are you able to do, something like I've been doing? I'm doing some video work for some people. Maybe you're helping some people communicate. Maybe some of those meetings that you can't go cover live, you're suggesting to them that you help them put a lot of content online, like do your interviews virtually. David, are you doing that? I'd be very surprised if you're not. Yeah, I figured you just joined because I can't imagine you, David, joining the stream and not speaking up immediately. Of course you just joined. There's no way you would have just lurked and not said anything. Or your name isn't David Spark. Darla, I'll send a paper plate with a face drawn on it. My business is actually doing very well as a result. Is it what I'm saying? I mean, you can't go to meetings. You're not going, the conferences are canceled. Explain yourself. Your podcasts are doing very well. Can you explain what CISO is? I think I've asked you that before, and I'll bet my friend NetReamer David. Hey, David Spark. David was on my old show and NetReamer, and Albert used to watch. You might know this guy. David Spark was on a few times. Yeah, you were celebrating Passover. Did you do, I mean, you had your own family, but did you connect on Zoom or something with your distant family? We talked about Passover to begin with. I'm drinking wine because it's Passover. In a geeky mug. My main business is the security podcasts I do. Okay, so it shifted. So your coverage of doing branded journalism at tech conferences has become less of your business and your podcast is more. Chief Information Security Officer. I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right, though, when I say the acronym. But very interesting. So, yeah, you remember NetReamer. NetReamer was always watching the shows. He was my guest on the show once. David, you were on probably a few or several times. And you connected with your friend. Were you using Zoom? Or what was your preferred? Is there some more kosher video conferencing platform? Spark Media Solutions is here. Thank you very much. Give this video a like if you don't mind. I think it might help me with the algorithms. David, do you know, I don't know what the status of your YouTube channel, but to even apply for monetization, for those who haven't heard this yet, you have to have, they enacted 2 rules at YouTube. One is you have to have 1,000 subscribers. I got that. The second is you have to have 4,000 watched hours in the past year. And I'm not there yet. I'm not even to 2,000 yet, but I have made great strides in the past few weeks. There isn't a more kosher video conferencing platform. You're on Zoom. It should be Zoomberg. I'm using Zoomberg. And I know you don't keep kosher, or I figured as much. You wouldn't be able to have a cheeseburger if you kept kosher. Oh, the security status of Zoom. David, do you want to say anything about it? I hear there's some problems. Yeah, Darla. You wrote a book about YouTube. What doesn't help you with the algorithm? Giving likes, but I thought that the more views a video gets and the more likes it gets and comments and stuff figures into whether YouTube will share it and let it pop up in other places. That's my impression. You get your views on LinkedIn. That's where your traffic is. Fascinating. Are you sharing content natively? Like, are you uploading your podcast natively to LinkedIn? Or would you tell me where's your podcast stored? Tell me a little bit about that, because I've never actually produced a podcast, but I want to. So do you use something like, what's that company? Well, you could still like my shit, man, even if it doesn't help the algorithm. It doesn't hurt. Watch time, I know. So I've had a couple videos get some views, and I've been doing these long live streams. This one, we're wrapping this one up. But what's that damn company where you store your... Yeah, that's the one, Libsyn, like... What is it? Yeah. So you videos and podcasts. The podcast is on Libsyn, and you and podcast should be a thing, Brian. I know. It will be. Right now, I need to just focus on fulfilling my contract with the virus videos, and those. I'm going to be providing them the audio versions too. So those might actually be podcasts for Sigma's Eye, the organization I'm working with. Well, that's really great. Oh yeah, you're in a great field for it. So how many views do your are you doing when you say podcasts? Do you have more than one podcast going? And you have corporate sponsors and you're in that tech world. So that's awesome. I'll have to pick you can download a free copy, has tons of tips. A free copy of what, David? You get sponsors for your podcast and videos. I don't try to monetize via a platform like YouTube. Oh yeah. I mean, it's a long shot. You have to get so many views for it to be worthwhile. It could be added bonus if you're up in that stratosphere. It's just one thing that entices me is that I'm friends with a bunch of very successful YouTube video bloggers, science video bloggers. There's I can't think of all their names, so I don't want to name any right now. But Veritasium is a great one, hugely successful, really good science video blogger, and a few other friends. You left a link in the feed. That's great. Yep. Well, I'm glad that's working out for you, and I might have to pick your brain at some point because I need to do that, and I wonder about the process where you were able to get sponsors, but I suspect it's because you already, from what you were doing in this field, you've probably been you probably have relationships with some of these companies that had hired you for branded journalism stuff. And is that how it happened? And if I was doing something it's not techie, but it's in the science realm, who would I get to sponsor it that has the deep pockets that your big tech companies have? That's what I would have to figure out. How do I monetize that, sir? So maybe you could advise me. You don't have a big audience, but you have the right audience for the cybersecurity space. Mark says he and Eric Pulaski should talk. Yeah, Eric is another old friend of ours from Houston who, I don't know much about his software, actually. Yep, you've got 11 years of building relations. That's what I thought. You've worked at the VidCon conference for the past 2 years. I produced their sponsored presentations channel. So you know a lot of some of the people I know. I'm drawing blanks on some names, so I feel stupid. It's the wine. It's the less than a cup of wine. So there are science companies who have a ton of money. Well, I would like to pick your brain a little, but first I need to put some stuff out. But you know what, David, is there a silver lining under this cloud of the virus? I've been asking if you have any silver linings, and I have a few, and the one that I'll say, no, something besides, a lot of us have caught up with old friends and had phone conversations or something. But for me, I've been building towards wanting to produce more videos and live stream. And it was when my first gig canceled, that night I did my first real live stream. I mean, I've been doing some live streaming from my phone, but now I'm doing it in a much different situation. Not using my phone for this. And I've been doing it regularly, and I'm producing videos, and some of them are part of a contract where I'm doing videos related to the coronavirus outbreak. Wine in a mug, classy. Yeah, well, you know what? This is my favorite. Not because it's from the Big Bang Theory, but I just like this mug without the Big Bang aspect. It's my most comfortable favorite mug. It's what I drink my coffee in. I'll fill it with water. I'll fill it with anything. It's my favorite drinking vessel. So there's wine in it. You can get snooty about it, like you should only drink wine from a wine glass, and you can even tell me about the shape of the glass and the reason for it and all that. But does it really matter? Really? Who's being the fool here? It's just a glass filled with a liquid that I'm drinking. I don't care if it's wine, beer, milk, water. I don't care if it comes from the mammary gland of a cow or fermented grape juice or water, the original beverage. Smart Vault and Bind View. David, are you familiar with these? This software, Bind View and Smart Vault? Our very old friend from the Jewish community in Houston, happy Passover, Eric Pulaski developed those. David says, I've been doing some projects with my sons and homeschooling, which has actually been fun when they're not being an issue. Yeah. I've had that from some friends of mine. A friend of mine was like, he's working from home and he has a wife and 2 daughters, and he gets to see them all the time. He could have lunch with them. He can go back to work, and yeah. But I have a few things. It's like I've been working harder since this whole thing started than I was before, and I've produced a ton more video. I'm trying to work out some tech issues, but yeah, that's okay. But you know what? This has been fun. I thank you all for tuning in tonight. I'm sure we'll do it again tomorrow night, but I really need to work on this interview. It's super long, but I want to get some of it out as soon as possible. So virus related, she's a virologist from NC State. And so I want to shorten this up so I don't stay up all night, get up early, get a lot of work done. Maybe I'll even watch a little more of it now. So it's not always going to be 3.5 hours. David, we've done some long streams here. Some of them are just about this. This is worried about the 2-hour mark, but last Friday and Saturday, I did 3.5 hours, but it wasn't my fault. They kept chatting and talking, and thanks. Yeah, you know, I mean, it's not going to matter if I just eke out the 4,000, and it's only going to matter if things go to a higher level. But it's interesting and it's fun. And there's other things that suck about Facebook anyway. In fact, a lot of the videos end up out of sync on Facebook when they're fine here on YouTube. So focus on what? Do you mean, Darla? Do you mean focus on the videos that I have to produce? Thank you very much, David. I mean, if you're curious, I'm using a Canon Vixia, I don't know, HF20, HG20, something like that. I'm using a Canon camcorder. I have a shotgun mic just out of the shot, like a foot from my mouth. That's going into my laptop, and I'm using this free software called OBS that you can do a bunch of things with. Like I can do stuff like this, or I can do this.
Light it up, let's get this show on the road. Live in 2020. Tommy, JY, Lawrence, Ricky, Todd, Chuck, Sticks, August 2nd.
Yeah, who are Lawrence and Ricky and Todd? They're not in fucking Sticks. And, or I could cue, it's like, here's my interview with Alan Stern. So tell me about it. So Pluto, there's so anyway, maybe you're familiar with OBS, but it's free and it's quirky, and I'm having issues with dropped frames and network stability. And I'm on Wi-Fi, but I'm awaiting the arrival of a Cat5 cable that's long enough to get to my router, and we're gonna see if that helps. But I have a studio situation that I could tell you here that I could tell you about sometime. So, yeah, and I'm shooting stuff that's not live as well, and I'll have other stuff. Denise, okay, you know OBS, but I'm gonna try something new that's only for Mac, and it's called Ecamm Live. But again, it's like, can my MacBook Pro, my older MacBook Pro, handle all of this? Because I'm doing some stuff with a green screen, and then it starts to use up a lot of processing on a laptop. So anyway, we should catch up sometime. Let's wrap this up. Everyone is saying goodnight. Thank you. I appreciate it. And I'm still in sync? Okay. So that's good to hear. You guys, what I didn't do, I meant... It's very slick and professional, but in some ways it's really interesting, David, how far we've come from the 20 years ago from Play TV days. Well, green screen can look like crap, but I want it for certain things. It has its uses, and I want it for something specific. So, but then I have this. I also have a white screen and a black screen, and those are useful on their own. So, I will be using green screen some, and your words will echo in my head, you bastard. If you tell the story again and get 10 people on now, that's over 3 watched hours. That's over, right. NetReamer, hey NetReamer, David Spark is here. Do you remember David? Spark remembers you. Do you remember him? He's Spark Media Solutions now. He formally changed his name. Yeah, David, there's more to that whole sticks thing, but I'm not going into it because I've told it 2 or 3 times already tonight. But remember to hit the like button on your way out, even though David says it doesn't help with the algorithms, but it doesn't hurt. It helps with my ego. So it's not a total loss. You guys are great. It'll be interesting to check the stats and see do you think you were the top commenter tonight? We'll see tomorrow night, where I suspect I'll be back. Maybe I'll even post about it earlier, and we'll see. So you guys have a good night, and see you next time. See you tomorrow night. Totally. Tomorrow night. Seriously.